So the thing for me was, because I read and I could do the big band, I could do everything, I could make all the licks that it was happening. It wasn't about the licks that made everything work for me, it was the rhythm that these guys were not able to do. I did this different kind of rhythms. It was funk, 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 but it was eighth note style, along with 16ths. And the triplets were up. And I just had my little thing that I had done, that I had been doing for years by this time, was different. It wasn't just a, no. Mine was with a low. So I had it moving, and it was part of my locomotion, which is what I came through as a youngster because of the train and living near the train tracks. That's where I got that from, and that's how I did it. So working with him was very wonderful for me because the music was written out. I reinterpreted the music, not to worry about all of the licks that were being hit, but to keep the rhythm flowing. That was my job.
So the same with Aretha Franklin. While you play with Aretha,
same thing. Keeping the rhythm. Yeah. Keep the rhythm happening, because when we do things, the rhythm section is what locks in. The melody is where we get it from when we get what she wanted as a melody. Well, James Brown's melody was never written. It was always the rhythm and where the horns and the strings, but James wrote the songs after the music was down. See, that's what people didn't know. 90% of everything that James Brown did was after the fact. That Mr. Lowe had already wrote the arrangements.
Oh, this is incredible. See, the difference with Miles Davis is different for the music.
Well, the thing with Miles Davis, sure, it was different also. But what people don't know is that Miles Davis was not there on the session. He came in and overdubbed. So the arranger, who was also the producer for Columbia, oh gosh, I just lost his name for a second. He just passed away last year. Last year, his wife called me. She called me to let me know that he was thinking about me in his last 2 months of his life.
Oh, good.
And I was like, but T.O. Macera. I said, well, why didn't he just call me to let me know that he was ill? He said, Purdie, he's a proud man.
Yeah.
He was a very proud man. But he wanted you to know how much you meant to him. Because of all the years of working with him behind all these different artists. And I never said anything or word about my credit or anything else.
Wait, but I don't understand why is there not a credit on the beach?
It's not the musician, it's
it
the
was,
company.
didn't have to do with them. That was his band. That was his band, and it's the same thing that you take for the Monkees, the Animals, all those groups. None of them recorded the records, but it was their names on the record. It was business.
Yeah.
It was good business for the record label.
Yeah.
We were being paid as not even contractors, sub. That's all. We were like subcontractors. We weren't even contractors. We got paid for independent contracting for doing the job. That's it. They didn't want to know from anything else. until the 70s came along.
Yeah.
It was people like Creed Taylor who showed the industry, you put the names of the musicians on there, you're going to sell more records. 10 to 20% more records. And that's what he did. He put our names on there after the fact. He went against the grain of everything and everybody. And even if the guys that were in the band didn't play, he put their names on there too, because it was good for business.
It's good for the business.
Yeah.
Good for the business.
Crazy.
And that's all you needed. You sell records. And he sold millions of records that way.
It is the same for Jeff Beck?
Jeff Beck, Blow by Blow album. Yes, I did a little fixing.
Okay.
That's okay. It's all right to do the fixing. But after, I did 2 years on the road with him.
No.
2 years. And for 2 years, I was a superstar. I made more money than a barrel of monkeys for the 2 years, because I didn't spend my money at all. My paycheck went to the bank
Yeah.
every week.
Okay.
Every week. When I started to use my money, I was in the 6 figures to build my own company.
Yes.
I really, truly learned how to do that.
Okay.
What you talking about? Good. It's
It was great for me.
this year is good for me. So you give that information from yourself. You know, it's you know. So this moment it costs a lot of money to learn or listen something from me.
You got it. But you want to know something else? This is going to be my best year for making money. Out of all the 40
Yeah.
some odd years, almost 50 years,
Yeah.
I've graduated.
Yeah.
And I've income. I mean, I look at, wow, I'm doing good. I'm doing great. I lost weight. I lost 120 pounds altogether. I lost 70 pounds in the last 3 years. Just to bring things down to where I'm comfortable with the level of my life. I'm not uptight about money because I'm actually making money. I'm comfortable with being able to go out and do the things that I want. And I don't have to flaunt anything. It's not about that. It's not about what the guy, oh man, well that's expensive. Oh my God, I'm sorry. Then let me go someplace else where it's cheaper.
No, it's okay.
Because that's what I do now.
Yeah.
I don't turn around and say, oh, well I want it because it's expensive.
You do your job.
I learned to
Yeah.
reverse that psychology that they did on me years ago.
Now he treats himself good.
Thank you. Good, Joogie Moogie.
No,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
Did you remember the Omar
Oh
song?
yes! Soon as I
What
saw
do
him,
you
I
say,
couldn't-
Coma?
I said,
Remember?
oh
He's very
my
young.
God! But see, we have actually been in tune with each other for years,
Yeah.
not knowing that we were doing the same kind of things.
I sat in with you at the club many years ago with comment on dit ça, celle qui chante.
Gato?
Nice
No.
girl played blues.
Oh, Carrie Smith.
Carrie, we're sitting together with Carrie Smith. With Carrie Smith together. Thanks God to see him.
Yes.
Thanks to God.
She's in the
Carrie
nursing home.
Carrie Smith, excuse me, it's yours. Carrie Smith, comment ça s'appelle la fille qui est là, qui chante le jazz ici, la plus connue en France.
We had
And Ducro?
There's Liz McComb.
yes,
Liz McComb.
Liz McComb.
Yeah, and Ducro.
but we all at that
Non, l'américain, l'italien.
Ah!
at the time we also had Ross Townsend was still alive.
Yeah.
You know. And she was using the girl.
Didi
Bridgewater. Sorry.
Didi Bridgewater was so in love with Carrie, she would sit there
Yeah.
and watch her. Everything she did.
Yeah.
Her movements.
Yeah.
Because Carrie Smith go from jazz, blues, gospel.
Yeah. I've been with you at that time.
Oh,
I've been with you that time.
man, it was great.
Yeah.
I went with Carrie, so I didn't have to go back to Aretha.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And I did that in the 90s.
She was the mother for the other.
You know, people had no idea how good this woman, whew, oh man, like a freight train.
Yeah, locomotive.
Oh,
And there's that same time, Linda Hopkins.
Linda Hopkins.
I was with her in LA. I was with her in LA doing things.
That's
you know.
right.
Yeah.
That's
Hey.
The
right.
special piano.
Yes.
Oh man. Yeah.
Hey,
That's my favorite.
I did the last show in Linda in Casino Paris.
Casino Paris.
6 cameras.
Oh,
Incredible.
she was always
The
dynamite.
voice.
Always dynamite.
So that's our period. So no fix. Yeah, nice.
No, but I'm just so pleased. I'm sorry that Carrie is, you know, she's in a nursing home now,
Yeah.
and because she had a stroke, very bad
Yeah.
stroke. But you know something? I did not blame her about anything that happened and all the things that happened. See, I'm fortunate because I don't go through these kind of changes and try to hurt people by coming back at them and tell you I told you so or just tell me. That ain't my thing. I'm sorry for the things that happened, but I just move on. I'm not bitter. I stopped being bitter the last 15, 20 years. Yeah, I'm serious. Oh, I was bitter in the 90s. The early, I should say the 80s. But when the 90s came around, I didn't have time. I didn't have time to be bitter anymore. I started to really learn to trust the business for myself and to do things and move myself in the position of what I needed to do. Didn't mind asking for things. Because the worst thing that you can say is no. Oh, okay. I'll move on. See, a yes or a no never bothered me. Ever. But, I don't know. Well, you know, we have, please, it ain't necessary. A yes or a no would work fine. You got a problem with it, then say no. Just say no and leave it alone. You don't have to string me along. Just, I'll move on. Because I don't have time for grudges or bad vibes and just that. I stay away from the people. I have been busted, you name it, everything that you can possibly do has happened to me. But you know something?
Ah bah évidemment.
Yeah, you know something?
Yeah.
It still works. It still works.
Yeah,
Alors là, c'est the solo carrière. Mais c'est the first.
In reality, there's a man's name on here, and his name is Bob Thiel. He was the producer. Only Bernard Purdie was the actual producer on all of his records, including Gil Scott-Heron and others that was on the label, his wife, Teresa Brewer, Count Basie, Duke Ellington, and trumpet,